So, hello to today's project. It's about CW with the SDRConsole. It's a little bit of hardware, it's a little bit of software, so let's start with the hardware. This is your adapter between your pedal and the software. It's an FTDI adapter, Fox Tango Delta India adapter, FTDI. It's sometimes also named UART adapter. It's a serial port adapter, not the one with only RX and TX. This one also has a few other connectors, and that's why we use this kind. Let me switch to the microscope cam and then I can show you where you have to solder what or which contact. So switch to the microscope. So here's the microscope cam. Okay, there was a little cut for you maybe. Okay, this is the one we are using. Let me explain. It's only 3 cables. We have the ground. It's this on mine. You have to look on yours because there are different layouts out there. You must look for one with the connectors ground, CTS, and this one is named R1. Sometimes also R Romeo India. This one is R1 Romeo 1. So we use CTS and R1. Also works because not every adapter has the same connectors. If your connector has DSR, I'm not sure here on mine. Maybe this could be the DSR and they spelled it incorrect here. This one is the DTR. This should be a different one, so don't use this one. And we have as option also CD. I'm not sure. CD could be this one. It's named DCD, but I'm not sure on that. So I'm absolutely sure on this one with R1 or RI, Romeo India, and CTS and ground. So we need this for a pedal. This is for a pedal setup. So we have the ground. The ground should be the middle contact on your, not should, it must be the middle contact of your pedal. That one who closes the DIT and the DAR. Which one you connect to which one is your choice, because we can switch it in software. Ground is the middle pin. On the most connectors, on the pedal side, mostly ground is this one here. And then you have closing these twos maybe for the DIT, and this and that one for the DAR. So this is the contact for, let me say, both DIT and DAR. These twos are the pair for DIT, and this and that is the pair for the DAR, or vice versa. But this is always the contact used for both. And then this one must solder to the ground pad, to the ground. And the DIT and the DAR, it makes no difference this or the other way. course, we can switch it later in software, but ground, I call it the middle pin of your pedal, must be the ground pad. Okay, so this is for the hardware. I made this little. It's just this. Because on my pedal, it's a little self-built one. Let me switch back to the other cam. Look at that. It's a little self-built one. It's 3D printed. This is the middle pin, ground. And here I have a little 3.5 millimeter stereo connector. And then I plug this into there. This USB mini, I think it is named, this big one here, into the computer. Then you get a serial port, and there comes the software. We also need a virtual audio cable, but this is on the software side. Okay, this is the hardware. So now switch to the software. So on the software side, we are using CWType. It's a freeware software, and if you like it, please donate. Just a few bucks helps that the coders, programmers, etc. are writing freeware for us. And this is a lovely program. So we started. And then we go into setup. This window opens. And then we go here to pedal port. This is key and PTT. I not really use it. We can set up a virtual COM port for the SDRConsole to go in TX mode. But it's not really necessary, because you can stay, if you're using a Bluetooth, it's a full duplex radio, you can stay just on TX. Yes, your amp is running on idle current, but that should not be the problem. I don't think so, that you speak 5 hours in CW. If you do, then use the PTT, and if you, then you know how to set up it for your needs. So we are here for the CW solution. So we configure our pedal port. This is the one. We say COM port. These nuns, I have no idea why there are so many nuns here. We select COM port, and then you look in your device manager. Which COM port is the FTDI adapter? In my case, it's COM6. And then you see here, it's really self-explaining which of the pins you soldered your pedal to is the CTS, and I choose R1 or RI. So for my configuration, CTS is the dot, and R1, is it named on my FTDI adapter, is the dash, and keying voltage must be set to positive. So then we apply, save, and hit OK. And oh, sorry, we also have to use a virtual audio cable for the output. The virtual audio cable is needed to transfer the audio from CWType into the SDRConsole as, in quotes, microphone. So CWType outputs the tone on the virtual audio cable, And in the SDR console, we have the virtual audio cable as microphone input. And then the DITs and DARs are transmitted as microphone signal. It's the same as you are connecting a sine wave generator to your microphone input. So, just to explain it really, really simple. So, and if you start CW then again, you always have to enable, yeah, you heard it, you always have to enable the speaker. Always. A muted speaker cannot be used as microphone, of course. So, and if you're doing CW, mine is not connected yet because it's still on the table. If you're doing, you can test it, and if you use your pedal and everything is correct configured, you can see here in this upper field here, you can see the letters recognized by the software. About the speed, here you can set your speed, mine is 80, I'm not the best CW operator. This is DIT to DAR. The dash are 3 dots, so this is 3.0, and this is there is a tooltip. Interletter space, it's also normally 3 dots. So this should be fine, and this 80 has something to do with the beacon function. We don't use it. If you use it, you know how to use it. So this is the CWType, and now we have to configure the SDR console. So this is the SDR console as you know it, and we have to configure our virtual audio cable, and for that we are here. This is my TX side here, and my normal voice, I use the normal and the DX preset, and for CW and digital modes etc. I'm using the other, and there I'm selecting the same virtual audio cable you selected in CWType. And then if you start pedaling or giving CW, you should see the input here on the spectrum. There we see. And now you recognize we don't hear anything. Now, there are more than one solution to that. The problem is latency. We have a monitor here on the SDR console. Let me enable it. It's here, it's the monitor function down here. And we can say use the monitor on RX, on receive. It's just for demonstration now. Normally you would set it to TX, that you hear the monitor during transmit. Now to demonstrate it, I activate receive, because I don't want to transmit for the moment. So, and if I enable it, so you can hear the voice. Yeah, let me enable my desktop audio. So you can hear it. But if you are the operator and you give a DIT or a DAR, you will notice a little bit of latency. And for me, every latency added confuses me. So there is a little trick to get the minimum amount of latency, and this is in the Windows record configuration. Let me show that to you. in Windows, this is still our CW window. And now in Windows, on my computer, I can do a right click here on the little speaker symbol. And then I have sounds. I'm from Germany, so my menus are in German, but it should be the same on the English version. And now we have record. This is the record tab. And now we scroll down. I'm using this one. And now my pedal is pushed all the time, so it makes a permanent deed, 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 deed. And you see it here, this is the level. If I turn off here the speaker, you see no level. If I turn it on, yeah, so. And now we want to hear it with absolute minimum latency. And the trick here is to go into settings. And this here, I'm not sure what it is in English. In German it's abhören. It should be the second option on the English too. And if we activate this one, our input is also an output. And if your output device is correct set, so if you use here your speakers, for me it's the default device are my speakers. If you activate that, you hear the dits and dars with absolutely lowest latency possible. Let me activate that. Okay, why we hear nothing? Maybe my device is not set correctly. Ah, I have to accept it. Yeah, okay, we have learned something. So we have to accept it, then we hear it. So activate it and then accept it. Apply is it in English. This button is apply in English. And then you have the absolutely lowest latency possible. So these are the settings. Let me close this, stop this. And now you are set up for CW. Remember, you have to activate your TX button in the SDRConsole manual. You have to push it to be on standby transmit. And then if you start pedaling, you hear the tone with absolutely minimum. The spectrum in the SDRConsole shows it with a little bit of a latency, but shows it. Yeah, does not confuse me, because I normally look onto the pedal. And transmit and receiving from the satellite, of course, has latency, but I turn down the volume on receiving. So I'm not confused from the massive latency signal coming back from the satellite. It's never measured it. I think it's 300 milliseconds or so, or less. Not sure. I never measured it, so please don't write negative comments about that. So that should be an easy, cheap setup for all CW operators out there using the SDRConsole. If you have questions, please write them in the comments. Maybe there was a step not exactly described as you liked it, or you have problems with the virtual audio cable, but normally you just install the software and it's running. So there was no configuration for me at all. I installed it. I use a board one. I spent a few bucks for a paid one, no freeware, but there's freeware out there. Should work absolutely fine. so no problem with the freewares. So, okay, that's all for this video. And, oh, for the end, there is one little thing. I have no idea why it is. Maybe it's just on my setup. If you start giving the first letters or numbers, always the first I start CW is a little bit late, so I have to I do it. I give a E, an echo, and then start with my real CW. Then I have almost no latency. It's only the first dit or da who has a little bit of latency. Something like the COM port is in sleep mode, and with my first signal on the pedal it awakes, and this takes a few milliseconds. It's something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. That's a little bit strange and confused me at the beginning really hard, because I was always giving one letter, and then I always had this latency at the beginning. Made it impossible for me. But if you give just an E or an S or whatever, and then do your job in your speed, and then you are absolutely fine. You will notice that if you have the same problem. Maybe it's just on my setup. Maybe it's something with how COM port works. On these FTDI adapters, they have an internal sleep mode. Maybe it's a little, I don't want to call it bug in the software, because the software is simple, it works, it's absolutely fine for me. But this is a thing you have to know. So start with something and then give your letters, your CW, CQ, whatever, your call sign, your WX, your report. Yeah, but the first dit or da has a little bit of latency. That I have to say, please. If you rebuild that and have the same experience, please write it down in the comments that others who build it know it. Okay, that's just a feature or bug or how it uses. If you have an FTDI adapter without that first letter latency, please comment down which one you bought, because maybe it's with the one I bought, a specific thing. Let me switch back to the microscope for the final, that you see again the one I bought. It's this one. You can jumper here, 3.3 or 5 volt. We don't use that. I used no pull-up resistors, nothing, just straight soldered cables here to my plug. This is the middle contact, and the DIT and the DAR. This I think is the DIT on mine, and this is the DAR. So on DAR, let me take my tweezers. This is the contact for both. I call it the middle contact. This and this is on mine for the DAR, and this is for the DAR on mine, or yeah, you know what I mean. I already described it. So if you only can give one letter, your ground is on the wrong spot, or your pedal has a different kind of connecting. So use your multimeter in ohms mode and look which two pairs and which one is the contact used for both. Okay, that should be everything now. Please write it down in the comments which adapter you used, your experiences. Do you have this first DITA latency or not? Which adapter you used, etc. Which virtual audio cable software you used, etc. etc. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting me. Patreon is the best way to support me. And yeah, also thanks for the massive positive feedback on my projects, on the 3D printing, on the, whatever, Raspberry Pi, Arduino, MIDI box, you name it, The feedback is always so positive, so thank you for that. Bye 73 for now, and enjoy your CW with the SDRConsole. Bye 73.